Come to order. I will motion to adjourn regular meeting number 36. Is there a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
All right, regular meeting number 38 will now come to order. May we have the playing of the national anthem. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, council is joined by Reverend Amy Aspie, pastor of Short North Church, to pray with council. Pastor, welcome back to council.
Thank you. Our prayer this evening is an adaptation of one written by Bishop Palmer in the 20th anniversary of remembering 9/11. So let us pray in that spirit tonight. God of history and remembrance, we remember when the towers fell and the lives were lost. We remember the dust and the smoke, and the despair and the grief. We remember the heroes, those who rushed to help in innumerable ways. We remember the hours and the days of finding wounds and healing hurts, giving comfort. There will ever be an end to violence, to war, to hatred, to death. Through our world's inability to look at things that lead to peace. God of justice and peace, use our remembering as building blocks of your peace that is yet possible. And may this gathering help make it so. In the name of all that is holy. Amen.
Amen. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
This week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Are there any resolutions, starting with President Pro Tem, or announcements? Councilmember Mitch Brown.
Thank you, Council President. This evening I do have the resolution of expression, Resolution 0148X 2021, to recognize the 20th anniversary of the September 11th terrorist attacks and express appreciation for members of the United States Armed Forces. Whereas the terror attacks on the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and the crash landing of Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, accounted for nearly 3,000 lives lost. And whereas on the 20th anniversary of that fateful day, we not only remember the fallen, but the first responders and everyday heroes that risk their own lives to save others. And whereas we express our appreciation for those who have served in our armed forces during the U.S. war in Afghanistan, we owe them a gratitude and respect for their service and sacrifice. Whereas we remember those lost in the August 26 terrorist attack on the Kabul airport, including 13 American service members and 169 Afghan citizens. Specifically, we'd like to acknowledge the loss of Maxton Soviak from Berlin Heights, Ohio. May his family have peace in this acknowledgement. Whereas as the veterans of the U.S. war in Afghanistan return home, may we as a community welcome them with open arms and grateful hearts. Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby honor the memory of the victims of the terror attacks on September 11, 2001, recognize the commitment of first responders for their actions on that fateful day, and express our appreciation to our military service members for their sacrifice. This evening, we are joined by the National Veterans Memorial Museum Director Andy Cloyd and Ms. Angela Vega, Legal Counsel for the U.S. Coast Guard Veteran and National Veteran Memorial Museum. Director Cloyd, and Ms. Vega, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The attacks on September 11th changed the lives of not just a generation, but so many others. Despicable acts imaginable, the murder of thousands. We also heard and watched incredible acts of bravery, selflessness, and empathy. Todd Beamer's comment, "Let's roll," was the last thing his wife heard him say as his fellow passengers fought back and prevented more loss of life in Washington, D.C. First responders and everyday citizens from across the country flocked to assist in the recovery and cleanup of the World Trade Center and Pentagon. The world came in support of our country. Hundreds of thousands of young people throughout the U.S. decided to raise their right hand and swear oaths to an idea, to our U.S. Constitution, in a time of war, knowing full well that they would deploy to combat. In the intervening 20 years, despite hundreds of attempts, there has never been an attack even close to the scope or the scale of attacks on September 11th. We readily accept the resolution and commend our community leaders for honoring the victims and recognizing our brave first responders and military whose service is so important to our safe communities and nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vega. Director Cloyd?
Yes, thank you, and thanks to the council for allowing us to be part of this resolution and to honor what has transpired over this past weekend in the last 20 years. And, you know, as a community asset, the National Veterans Memorial Museum is here to inspire people to learn about service, but also to make an impact and have people remember what service is and how service matters. We've had a big theme this past month about the current events in the world and here in our country about, to veterans and first responders, our theme and our message is that your service matters. And now that we're transitioning a lot of veterans out of Afghanistan and back to the homeland, that was the end of our stay in Afghanistan, that we continue to say that message that your service matters. So this resolution is very important and we take it very seriously, and we're honored to represent our community to accept this and to continue the story of leading and inspiring our community and the nation as the National Veterans Memorial Museum does that on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no comments from any of my colleagues, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Council Member. Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight, I would like to acknowledge Resolution 0149X-2021 that appears on tonight's consent agenda to recognize and celebrate September 15th, 2021 to October 15th, 2021 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Columbus. The resolution will be formally presented at Latino Fest this upcoming weekend. Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated mid-September to mid-October and is an annual celebration of the history and culture of the U.S. Latinx and Hispanic communities. The unifying theme of this year's observance is Esperanza, a celebration of Hispanic heritage and hope. On Tuesday, September 28th at 7 p.m., Council will host a virtual Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. As part of the ceremony, City Hall will be illuminated to honor the contributions of Latinos in our community. The event can be live streamed on the city's YouTube channel and Facebook page. And finally, on October 13th, we will host a Latinx Town Hall event to hear directly from our Latinx and Hispanic residents about their experience in Columbus. I look forward to these upcoming opportunities to engage during this month of celebration and beyond. For additional information about the Hispanic Heritage Month events, please contact my legislative assistant, Anissa Lieben, at aaliban@columbus.gov. Thank you, Council President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. Tonight I have one resolution and a few announcements. First resolution is Ordinance 152X-2021 to honor, recognize, and celebrate Welcoming Week 2021 in Columbus, Ohio, and declare Columbus a sanctuary for refugees from Afghanistan. Welcoming Week 2021, which takes place September 10th through 19th, celebrates the growing movement of communities that fully embrace immigrants and their contributions to the social fabric of our country. Welcoming Week is an annual celebration bringing together thousands of people in a series of local events that celebrate the contributions of immigrants, refugees, and new Americans, and the role our communities play in fostering a greater welcome. As we continue to fight the COVID-19 pandemic this year, there will be virtual, hybrid, and in-person events in Central Ohio. Efforts that promote understanding and collaboration between all members of our community are crucial in encouraging and preserving the welcoming and inclusive environment of Columbus, Ohio. At a time when political rhetoric has deepened divisions and the COVID-19 pandemic has renewed anti-immigrant sentiment, Welcoming Week reminds us to double down on our inclusive vision and find new ways to bring together people across lines of difference to develop greater understanding and mutual support. Recent developments in Afghanistan have resulted in U.S. troops returning to the United States after 20 years at war and thousands of Afghan refugees arriving here. Columbus City Council welcomes our Afghan brothers and sisters to Columbus, Ohio, and will work to support local resettlement organizations in this important work. During this week of recognition, the City of Columbus, Ohio reaffirms its belief that the United States of America is a country open to all who seek refuge and the pursuit of happiness. Fostering a welcoming environment for all individuals, regardless of race, ethnicity, or place of origin, enhances the cultural fabric, economic growth, global competitiveness, and overall prosperity for current and future generations with a special immigrant visa. This evening, I'm so thankful to have Angie Plummer, Executive Director of CRIS, Community Refugee and Immigration Services, Nadia Kazvan, Director and co-founder of Us Together, and Dr. Saleshi Asfal, President and CEO of ETSS, the Ethiopian Taiwando Social Services Organization, joining virtually to share a few words on this resolution. Angie, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, President Harden, Pro Tem Brown, members of council. It's an honor to be here on behalf of CRIS, on behalf of our employees and our board, and appreciate Councilmember Ramey inviting me today. We are on the cusp of a once-in-a-generation opportunity to show welcome to strangers. They'll become our neighbors and our friends, and we have an opportunity to show the kind of welcome that Columbus always shows to refugees and immigrants. I wanted to echo the comments of Andy Floyd that service matters, the service of our members of the U.S. military. We want to do them honor by showing welcome to the Afghans who have had to be evacuated. First and foremost, refugee resettlement is a life-saving program, but as this council has recognized, refugees and immigrants bring economic vibrancy to our community. I am so proud to be part of a city and a community that welcomes everyone, and thank you for this resolution. Your leadership in this area is long-standing and very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angie. Nadia, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Nadia Kasrin. I'm co-founder and director of Us Together, a non-profit organization which has been providing services to refugees, immigrants, and limited English proficient clients since 2003. Thank you, Councilmember Remy, for inviting me to speak, sponsoring this resolution, and constantly advocating for the needs of new Americans year-round. We're celebrating a welcoming week and creating a nation that's welcoming to everyone who calls it home starts with making changes in our own communities. We've all been a new student, the new employee, or been to a place with no familiar faces. New Americans feel this uncertainty as they begin building their new lives anew in Columbus, but now in a new language and in a new culture. About 184,800 new Americans call Columbus home, and every single one had to go through adjustment and integration process. The services of nonprofit organizations like Us Together are vital. We know how important it is to give a hand up, to assist with a job, housing, access to education. But another very important component that is not spoken enough is the need for community support. And there are so many ways that you can support new Americans in your everyday life, from supporting refugee and immigrant-owned businesses, to reading books and watching documentaries, and to just talking to your neighbors to better understand their experiences. In 2019, 26.4% of total population growth in our metro area was attributable to immigrants, and we expect this trend to continue. As the situation in Afghanistan circulates through news headlines, agencies around the country and right here in Columbus are preparing to serve those who have been displaced. Countless people have reached out to us asking how they can get involved. While the current situation is heartbreaking, we are truly delighted to see community members stand with their new neighbors. This crisis is affirming what we already knew at Us Together. We can make the world better together. Welcoming Week is the perfect reminder of what we as a community can do to be better neighbors. When I think of my time coming to the United States as a refugee, the connections I made in my new community were what really made me feel like I belong in my new home. So we all have the power to make a great impact. We are at our strongest when we work together, and we need to come together, not just for Welcoming Week, but all year round. And I'm so proud to be part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nadia. Dr. Asphalt, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Council Member Remy. Really appreciate, and all council members. I am a proud citizen of Columbus. I have been here for 25 years. I every day and every hours and weeks enjoy being in Columbus because it gives me and my community a welcoming place for us. So I call you all my friends, my sisters, because anytime that I face challenges, issues, or successes, I came to you and share my frustration or my success story. So we are friends, we work closer together. This welcoming week is really brings refugees and immigrants and long-time residents to affirm that the inclusiveness or the value of welcomeness in our city and all over the world. So being that Columbus is part of this, and especially nowadays, to recognize Afghan parody to come to Columbus is really amazing. And we really thank you so much on behalf of my board, my staff, my new American communities that we are working together. We thank you so much. Not only today, every time, there are so many frameworks that whether the city is a welcoming place or not, is by all standards, Columbus fulfilling all different, like a welcoming place. You have provided, or we put a unit of, in the city government, the new American initiative that you have included, all the resolutions that we got, the economic opportunities that you gave it to us, the welcoming places in all the cities areas that we have been enjoying. All those standards are really, and the community engagement, community safety for our new Americans, it attracted so many refugees and immigrants to Columbus. We have seen that. And Council Member Emmanuel, he knows that the Northland, how refugees, that area since 2002 has been devastated and closed. But since the settlement of refugees and immigrants in that area, business is booming, agencies are open, like big agencies like Franklin County Job and Family Services, their main office in Northland, restaurants, everything comes because of refugee immigrants coming and filling the apartments that was vacant in that area. So I think it is in the right direction. We enjoyed your leadership. We thank you so much, and Columbus will continue to welcoming, because that diversity inclusion is really leads us to a common and collective prosperity for all of us. So thank you so much. We'll work together. We affirm to you that my staff, my board, and my partners are with you. Together we'll make Columbus one Columbus. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Dr. Asphalt and Nadia and Angie. It's truly a special week to have the opportunity to demonstrate how we are such a welcoming city and how we've been that over the last couple of decades. To really show through the research that Gateways to Growth have done on the economic impact, and certainly as the census data has bore out in areas like Northland in particular, the tremendous growth of new American refugee and immigrants. I always say that you can go down Morris Road and pretty much take a trip around the world, whether you want to do it through eating or through shopping, and there are plenty more corridors like that within the city. So thank you again for your efforts and work. We stand here supporting and ready to stand by you as we welcome others that have our Afghan brothers and sisters, as we mentioned, who have really held up and supported the U.S. military throughout our 20-year tenure in their country. And so we thank them for that. President Hardin, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Councilmember Remy, for partnering on this resolution, and thank you for your leadership for bringing this forward and celebrating Welcome Week in the city of Columbus. When we started to talk about this resolution last week or so, it harkened back to 6 years ago when I sponsored Resolution 0268X-2015, which declared Columbus a place of refuge for those fleeing the violence happening in Syria. And those values, or these values of Welcome Week, speak directly to the second half of this resolution. We all know that the recent developments in Afghanistan have resulted in the U.S. troops returning home after 20 years at war, and thousands of refugees, Afghan refugees, arriving in the United States. We are simply saying that Columbus City Council welcomes our Afghan brothers and sisters to Columbus and will work to support the local resettlement organizations in this important work. We are sincerely thankful for us together and Chris and ETSS for their work to resettle these new Columbus residents. And I look forward to working with all of the agencies to support our new neighbors. Thank you, Councilmember, again for your leadership on this resolution.
Thank you so much, Council President. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Now you're on the spot.
now I am going to say something. I just wanted to say thank you to ETSS and Us Together and Chris. Thank you, Councilman Burimi, for bringing this forward. And the work of our resettlement agencies here in the city of Columbus has been extremely hard for the last 4+ years. And they have gone through so much to continue to fight for Columbus to be a welcoming city, and for us to be able to pass things like this resolution here tonight. So both of you who preceded me spoke beautifully to the values that we obviously want this resolution to represent, but I want to say particularly to our resettlement agencies, your work has been heroic over these last many years, and I know you have spent many nights stressed about whether you would be able to get to a place where you could welcome 350-ish people to our city at one time. So thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. Any other additional comments? Seeing none, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you again, President Harden. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. We started out the month with a postcard to all city employees, reminding them of the resources and tools that are available in the community free of charge and without enrollment in the city's healthcare plan. We have collaborated with EAP to Employee Assistance Program to share the warning signs and how to recognize a person with suicidal urges. This collaboration walked employees through what to listen for during person-to-person conversations, as well as steps employees can take to seek help. For our viewing audience, it is important to learn and recognize the warning signs of suicide. For more information, call the Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255, or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org for more information. Suicide is preventable. With help comes hope. As part of the City of Columbus's reimagining public safety efforts, we are wanting public opinion and input on what background standards are important and appropriate for those individuals selected for a police officer position. Currently, these standards cover areas including honesty, family history, employment, criminal activity, illegal substances, and others previously determined important when evaluating potential police officer hires. The Civil Service Commission will be holding 3 focus group sessions, one each day on Tuesday, September 21st, Thursday, September 23rd, and Saturday, September 25th. Seating is limited, so if you are interested in being a part of this important work, please contact Wendy Brennan at the Commission's administrative offices at 614-645-7531. That's 645-7531 to confirm session times, locations, and available seating. Director DeLong, do you have any additional details you'd like to share this evening?
Chair Remy, President Harden, and other members of council, thank you so much for sharing this information this evening. These community focus groups are tremendously important to make sure we hire the best candidates for our police officer positions. These 3 community meetings will have breakout sessions, so they will break out into small groups to allow facilitators to be there for a large part of the meeting to allow everyone an opportunity to share their opinions. Once we have compiled all the information from the 3 meetings, as well as from police leadership, background, and recruiting, we will have an additional community leaders forum to discuss the possible changes and then draft the final police background standards, which we will put before the commission, the Civil Service Commission, for approval at the end of October. This will make sure that the standards are in place for the next recruiting of the police class beginning in 2022. Again, if people are interested in participating in one of these 3 focus groups that is next week, we have one that's going to be in the morning, one after work, and one during the day. They can call Wendy Brennan to get scheduled. And again, that number is 614-645-7531. But if they actually are having a difficult time putting that information down right now because they are in their car or something like that, they can also get on the Civil Service website or the City of Columbus website, and that information is also available for them at that point.
Thank you, Director DeLong. Appreciate the opportunity to share this important information. I will hold virtual community hours next Thursday, September 23rd from 4 to 5:30 on WebEx. Please email my legislative assistant, Lucy Frank, at ljfrank@columbus.gov. That's ljfrank@columbus.gov. And finally, as a reminder, the City of Columbus's Council Residential Districting Commission will continue their working session and will be meeting this Wednesday, September 15th, beginning at 5:30. You can view the working sessions live via YouTube, Facebook, or CTV Channel 3. For more information about the work of the CRDC, please visit www.columbus.gov/districtingcommission. If you have any questions or would like to submit feedback, please email crdc@columbus.gov. And that is all I have this evening. Thank you, President Hardin.
Thank you, Councilmember. Tonight I have one resolution and two announcements. For this resolution, I'm going to attempt to fill in for the shoes from my Councilmember Tyson, who is always an advocate on issues of health and wellness. So we have Resolution 0147X-2021 is to declare September 2021 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Columbus, and to encourage the residents of Columbus and Central Ohio to support families impacted by childhood cancer. Childhood cancer is the #1 cause of death from disease among children, and according to the American Childhood Cancer Organization, 46 children are diagnosed with cancer each day in the United States. And there are hundreds of nonprofit organizations at the local, state, and national level which have been helping children and families of children impacted by cancer to cope with the emotional, educational, and financial burdens of childhood cancer. So be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus that this council does hereby proclaim September 2021 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Columbus. Moreover, this council does hereby encourage the residents of Columbus and Central Ohio to observe Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and to find ways to support these families and children impacted by childhood cancer in our community. We have some guests with us. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Nicholas Yeager, Cecilia Dempsey, and her son Logan, who are with us today. Welcome to council. It's your yes. Welcome, Dr. Yeager.
Thank you, President Hardin, and thank you to the members of the Columbus City Council. It's my great pleasure to be here in acknowledgement of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that it is also National Sickle Cell Awareness Month, which is another important cause to the Pediatric Hematology Oncology Division at Nationwide Children's Hospital. That said, as has already been alluded to, each year in the United States, over 16,000 children are diagnosed with cancer, including over 550 Ohioans. We are really fortunate to live in the time that we are. Thanks to the hard work of my predecessors in the research and clinical fields, 5-year survival rates for childhood cancer diagnoses in the year 2021 exceed 80%, which is phenomenal success. However, many challenges remain. For certain diagnoses, such as metastatic sarcomas and neuroblastomas, as well as high-risk brain tumors and leukemias, survival rates are still quite poor, and we need to improve. In addition, for many of the 500,000 cancer survivors currently living in the United States, there are health effects as a result of their therapy that will follow them all the rest of their lives, as well as creating a significant burden on the healthcare reimbursement mechanisms. Finally, we are just beginning to understand the importance of the socioeconomic determinants of health that influence cancer outcomes, and much more effort needs to be put into this area to best take care of our patients. That said, we at Nationwide Children's feel that we are extremely well positioned to be in a leadership position as the childhood cancer movement moves forward. As a top 10 pediatric institution with some of the best outcomes for pediatric cancer reported in our country, We are very blessed to have more than 50 clinical faculty, 13 research faculty, over 30 unique subspecialty clinics, and 120 clinical trials for patients with childhood cancer, blood diseases, bone marrow transplant, and cellular therapeutics. In addition, the Institute of Genomic Medicine, our clinical GMP facility, and our upcoming Proton facility that will be open in conjunction with Ohio State University uniquely positions us to be leaders. But we have been able to accomplish all that we have really with the support of the citizens of Columbus and Central Ohio. We are very, very grateful for the unwavering support and look forward to partnering with the citizens of Columbus in this great movement as we go forward. And having said all that, I think the best thing that I can do to really kind of drive home the point for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month is to point at Logan over here and his mom and his family who are back in the back as really just an example of what can be accomplished. So thank you so much for your support. We appreciate the City of Columbus and we appreciate this resolution.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yeager, and thank you to Mr. Logan for coming down and being with us today as we recognize and encourage the residents of Columbus. I thought about this last year or 2 years ago when folks came down, and thank you to Mr. Mike Shattuck for always making sure that the City of Columbus keeps childhood cancer in our focus. And you know, I think that we don't talk about it enough and don't focus on it enough, truly, because it's so terrible. It's so hard to think about as an adult, but that's not fair to the countless parents and children that have to think about it and that have to focus on that. And so we are taking this time today as City Council and passing this resolution to encourage all of our residents to do what we must to support and protect and uplift our beautiful babies. So thank you so much to Children's Hospital and everyone else who is supporting these families. Thank you. Any other comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'll move for adoption. Is there a second? Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Thank you. Resolution is adopted. At this point, I typically report on Franklin County's vaccination progress, but I'm going to actually just wait because I'm sure soon we will bring up legislation that will speak to COVID. But so my final piece of legislation, or my final comment this evening, is around a Columbus Metropolitan Club forum that CMC is hosting this week on the Link Us Mobility Initiative. This is a great opportunity for folks to learn more about the effort to build a complete mobility system along key regional corridors, including rapid transit, bicycle, and pedestrian improvements, while encouraging access to jobs and affordable housing. The initiative is a response to the challenges facing a growing region, including managing traffic congestion, ensuring equitable access to jobs and housing, promoting economic vitality, and improve sustainability. So if you are interested in transit, housing, our city's growth, this is a great event for you. So you can check it out by going to the Columbus Metropolitan Club website and reserving a ticket, or watching it online at youtube.com/City of Columbus. Are there any comments by any of our elected officials who are with us via WebEx? City Attorney, City Auditor, our judge partners? Hearing none, at this time I request the following ordinance to be removed from the consent portion of the agenda. Public Service Ordinance 2240-2021. Are there any other requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance of the agenda? May we now have the motion to waive reading of titles of 30-day legislation by the City Clerk? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance number of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Finance Committee, ordinances 2057, 2099, 2103, 2107, 2124, 2138, 2141, 2167, 2178, 2185, 2198, 2250-2021, Education Committee Ordinance 2053-2021, Public Safety Committee Ordinance 2256-2021, Veterans and Senior Affairs Committee Ordinance 2102-2021, Public Utilities Committee Ordinances 2052, 2125, 2132, 2149, 2155, 2156, 2193, 2194, 2195, 2199, 2200, 2206, 2220, 2238, 2274-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee Resolution 134X-2021 and Ordinance 2153-2021. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee Ordinances 2325 and 2338-2021. Economic Development Committee Ordinances 2214, 2215, 2263, 2264, 2289, 2290-2021. Health and Human Services Committee Ordinances 2184 and 2222-2021. Rules and Reference Committee Ordinances 2360, 2328-2021. Zoning Committee Ordinances 2189, 2190, 2191, 2202, 2204, 2205, 2207, 2208, 2209, 2225, 2226, 2227, 2228, 2241, 2252, 2270, 2271, 2335, and 2336-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I don't see any speakers on the consent portion of the agenda. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those ordinances into the record?
Resolutions of expression 133X, 146X, 128X, 150X, 149X, 151X, 129X, 131X-2021. Finance Committee Ordinances 138X-2021, Ordinance 1925, 2012, 2020, 2093, 2118, 2119, 2121, 2133, 2134, 2145, 2151, 2169, 2174, 2175, 2179, 2180, 2188, 2217, 2237, 2269-2021. Recreation and Parks Committee Ordinances 2041, 2128-2021. Public Safety Committee Ordinances 2154, 2224-2021. Public Utilities Committee Ordinances 2211 and 2213-2021. Neighborhoods Committee Ordinance 2011-2021. Technology Committee Ordinance 2150-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee Resolution 135X-2021. Ordinances 2047, 2051, 2084, 2100, 2106, 2115, 2126, 2144, 2158, 2210, 2221, 2223, 2240. Excuse me, let's disregard 2240. That was removed from consent. 2242-2021, 2243, 2257-2021. Housing Committee Ordinances 2147, 2247-2021. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee Ordinances 2139, 2163, 2164, 2165, 2170-2021. Economic Development Committee Ordinances 2261 and 2277-2021. Administration Committee Ordinances 2304, 2331, 2332-2021. Health and Human Services Committee Ordinances 1833, 1872, 2059, 2079, 2080, 2081, 2117, 2120, 2146, 2168, 2171, 2172, 2173, 2186, 2192, 2212, 2233, 2235, 2248-2021. Workforce Development Committee Ordinance 2071-2021. Building and Zoning Policy Committee Ordinance 2234-2021. Appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0172, 173, and 174-2021.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions or comments about the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, I may I have a motion to approve these items as needed consent. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Ordinances are passed. We will now proceed with the second reading of 30-day tabled and emergency legislation. I'm going to take presidential privilege and go out of order and go to the Health Committee. We know that there's a lot of focus this evening on an important conversation that we need to have. Truthfully, it's a conversation that no one likes this. No one likes that we have a deadly virus in our community. No one likes that it is still killing folks in Columbus and Ohio and threatening folks with compromised immunity. But it is important. And so I will move to the Health Committee, and that committee tonight is chaired by Councilmember Remy. I will also say, before we move to the committee, we are currently under a mask mandate as put out by the mayor through executive order. We have folks in council chambers tonight who have chosen not to wear a mask. I have not asked for those folks to be removed because our ordinance, if passed, does not go into effect until tomorrow at 8 a.m. But if so, and folks that choose to come back without a mask once an ordinance were to be passed, then I would ask them to be removed. It just makes me a little sad, and I'll say this again on my own presidential privilege, that we just passed a resolution about childhood cancer, and we had a child in here that had immune compromise, and still folks chose to not do, I think, the least of things, which is to put a mask on when they're in an open public space. What you do in your own home is 100% up to you. That makes me sad. That makes me sad. With that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Chair Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. It is the requirement of the city to wear masks within city buildings, and that has been a declaration. That has been a declaration since earlier last month. Tonight, I introduce from the floor Ordinance 2388, 2021, to require the wearing of face coverings in indoor public spaces in the city of Columbus, to reduce and prevent the spread of COVID-19, to allow for enforcement and assessment of a civil penalty for a violation of said mandate, and to declare an emergency. Due to the ongoing health crisis and public health emergency, and to reduce and prevent the spread of COVID-19, there exists a need for a face covering requirement in the city of Columbus.
Excuse me.
Council President Harden, I ask that we recess.
Excuse me. Actually, yes. May I have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Council is in recess. Let me say this. Actually, I would ask for these folks to be removed. We have city business to be done, and I was not going to ask you guys to be removed so we can, but if you cannot allow the city business to be done, you will be asked to be removed. Mike, I have this. So the question is, when can those speak?
President Harden.
We are in the Health Committee. Councilmember Remy chairs that committee. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Due to the ongoing health crisis and public health emergency, and to reduce and prevent the spread of COVID-19, there exists a need for a face covering requirement in the City of Columbus. Since early March 2020, the City of Columbus has faced a pandemic that has resulted in extraordinary illness, long-term debilitating effects, and loss of life, affecting over 100,000 and causing the death of more than 1,000 Columbus residents in the City of Columbus. Therefore, it is a current threat of an acutely hazardous disease, illness, or health condition. Specifically, COVID-19 in Franklin County, where Columbus is located, has been designated by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention as currently having high community transmission levels, characterized by more than 100 new cases per 100,000 persons in the past 7 days, and more than 10% of positive nucleic acid amplification tests during the past 7 days. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention estimates the Delta variant of the coronavirus now accounts for more than 90% of all sequenced coronavirus cases in the U.S. CPH has determined the Delta variant is currently the most dominant strain of COVID-19 locally and has spread quickly among unvaccinated people of all ages. It has shown the ability to infect fully vaccinated individuals, cause symptomatic illness, and be spread to others. Central Ohio hospital systems are experiencing increased numbers of COVID-19 cases and increased numbers of hospital beds and ICU beds utilized by COVID-19 patients. COVID-19 cases for 5 to 11-year-olds and 12 to 17-year-olds have increased dramatically over the past month, and slowing the spread is critical to the health and well-being of young people and to continuing safe in-person learning in Central Ohio school districts. The CDC has recognized vaccination as the leading public health prevention strategy to end the COVID-19 pandemic, and vaccines are safe, effective, and widely available to any eligible resident. Face coverings and other public health precautions have proved to be critical in slowing and stopping the spread of COVID-19. Face coverings can decrease the spread of respiratory droplets from people, and evidence has grown, as shown in numerous recent studies, that the use of face coverings decrease the spread of COVID-19 within populations. The CDC has issued guidance recommending wearing a mask indoors while in public in most circumstances, even for fully vaccinated people, as well as where required by federal, state, local, tribal, or territorial laws, rules, and regulations, including local businesses and workplace guidance. An emergency exists in the City of Columbus as fully articulated in the preamble hereof, such that enactment of this ordinance is necessary for the immediate preservation of the public peace, property, health, or safety. Joining us this evening to share a few words on this ordinance, we have Dr. Mary Howard, Executive Director of the Ohio State University Medical Center, East Hospital. Welcome, Dr. Howard. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Remy, President Harden, and other members of council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on face covering legislation. As a healthcare professional, I am supportive of this mandate. As we all have heard and know, masks are an effective tool and measure in the fight of the spread of COVID-19. It is a team effort to stop the transmission.
Ms. Mary, I think that you are muted on your end.
Okay, I've unmuted. It looks like I'm unmuted. Can you not hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Should I start over? Can you hear me? Okay. Should I start over or no?
Just 1 second. I think they're
Chair, do you have
checking
another
in.
speaker? Is the health commissioner speaking too? Maybe we can move to another speaker and then come back.
Council President Harden, can you hear me? They're unable to hear
Chair,
folks
do you
on
have another
WebEx.
speaker on
Just
this?
a moment.
Some people can
I'm
hear
just seeing
me
if we
and
could
some
find another
cannot.
speaker to see if that.
Miss Angie, we can hear Mary.
I think that maybe
That's
people
fine,
on
but I
WebEx.
Yes,
like to
everyone
see if
over
we can see
WebEx
somebody
can
else.
hear Mary, but everyone in chambers cannot. So we're
Cannot.
trying to resolve that issue. Just one
Okay.
moment.
I think it's important that folks inside chamber and outside chamber hear the
Since
same.
we're having some technical difficulties in hearing the speaker this evening in chambers, we will go ahead and call on public speakers this evening. I'm sorry, let me get to our County Health Commissioner, Dr. Mashika Roberts. Dr. Roberts, would you care to share some words on this particular mandate?
Sure. Good evening. Are you able to hear me? Councilmember Remy and Council President Harden, can you hear me? I don't think they can hear me either.
No, I think it's the same issue, Dr. Roberts.
It's the same issue, Dr. Roberts. They're going to work on it. I do apologize.
We're still not being, can we take a break to sort out this technical issue? 5 minutes. He thinks 5 minutes. Carter thinks 5 minutes will do it.
Yes, let's take one more 5-minute recess. May I have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Council is in recess. It's an important conversation. We want to make sure that both sides are heard, not just one side. Yes, sir. That's exactly why we're going
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
So she's talking. Talking through the WebEx mic.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
So she's
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Yes, Mark, I'm talking. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, see, yeah, just cut out. So.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Can I have a motion to reconvene meeting number 38? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Thank you. We are now back in the meeting. Thank you all for our patience as we continue to go through technical difficulties. But with that, we were in the Health and Human Services Committee. Councilmember Remy is chair. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you again, President Harden. We will try once again to put Dr. Mary Howard, the Executive Director of the Ohio State University Medical Center East Hospital on. Dr. Howard, are you available?
Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Great to hear you.
Great. Thank you very much. So to Chair Remy, President Harden, and other members of council, thank you for the opportunity to speak on the face covering legislation. As a healthcare professional, I am supportive of this mandate. As we have all heard and know, masks are an effective tool and measure in the fight against the spread of COVID-19. It really is a team effort to stop the transmission of COVID. Wearing masks is proven to reduce the transfer of the disease when you are around other people. Simply, it is a form of humanitarian at this point, from my point of view. It's not just about protecting ourselves as individuals. It is a way to protect others, our loved ones, our neighbors, and everyone we come in contact with as we live our daily lives. As we all know, there's been a dramatic rise in the number of COVID cases throughout our country. Franklin County Adult Hospital COVID patient census is at its highest point since January 20th, 2021, with a 13.3% increase over the past 7 days. The majority of hospitalized patients are unvaccinated. A month ago in our region, we had approximately 300 COVID patients in hospitals. As of this morning, we had over 950 hospitalizations. Of those 950 currently in the hospital, there are over 250 COVID patients in intensive care units. Our hospitals are running out of ICU beds. Even as we're pulling together our best efforts to manage critical care patients, we still need to provide care for patients who come to our hospitals needing emergency care and other hospital services. This is in addition to the patients that we are caring for that are critical care with COVID. Throughout the United States, the rising demand to hospitalize patients nationally is straining healthcare system resources in terms of capacity and staffing. And we are dealing with the same issue here in Central Ohio and in the city of Columbus. Our staff are rising to the challenge, and I appreciate and applaud their efforts. Needless to say, it's been very stressful, and we could use your help. By wearing masks, you are helping to reduce hospitalizations, protect loved ones, and slow the spread of COVID in our community. And I want to reiterate, as a healthcare professional, I do endorse wearing masks, and I support the mayor's executive order and council's legislation to require wearing face coverings in indoor public spaces. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. It's great to see you this evening, and I appreciate your comments on this. Next, I have Columbus Public Health Commissioner Dr. Mashika Roberts. Dr. Roberts, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you and good evening, Councilmember Remy and Council President Harden, and thank you so much for your kind, supportive words, Dr. Howard. Appreciate that. After 19 months of fighting against COVID-19, we once again find ourselves at a critical moment in this pandemic. COVID-19 is spreading like wildfire here and across our country because of the Delta variant. At this point in time, we must do everything in the toolbox we can do to protect our community and prevent our hospitals from being even more overwhelmed. Despite our best efforts as a public health department and as a city, since the beginning of this crisis, this situation is worsening. Our case numbers are up and have been increasing since July. Just last week alone, there were 2,500 cases in our community, a 37% increase over the previous week. Our positivity rate now stands at 9.6%. It's been increasing since July, when it was only 2%. Our case rate is also increasing. We are now seeing a 14-day aggregate case rate in Franklin County of 493 cases per 100,000. Last week, we were at 408 cases. These numbers highlight the strain on our health systems, as well as all of our systems that are in place to protect our community and our residents. At this point in time, we all must work together to do everything we can right now to reduce the burden on our hospital systems before it's too late. We must act. It takes all of us doing whatever we can to protect our community, and there are some simple public health interventions we can all do to help slow the spread. First, if you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated now if you're 12 years of age and older. Vaccines are safe and very effective at reducing severe illness, hospitalization, and death. Everyone 12 years of age and older is eligible and can get the vaccine for free. And right now, if you live in Franklin County and you get vaccinated at Columbus Public Health, you can get a $100 vaccine gift card if you get vaccinated. Currently, only 53% of Franklin County is fully vaccinated. And if you look just in the Columbus jurisdiction, that rate is even lower, where 46% are fully vaccinated. We need more people to roll up their sleeves and get vaccinated now. Last week, we saw that our kids were starting to become more infected. Just last week, 26% of our newly reported cases were under the age of 18. If you compare that to September of 2020, it was 4.4%. Likewise, if you look at our kids that are under the age of 12, so aren't eligible for the vaccine, they represent 15% of our new cases. Last year, this time, they represented 1.7% of our new cases. So we must do better to protect those who are vulnerable, to protect those who aren't eligible for the vaccine, to protect those who are immunocompromised. So get vaccinated if you're eligible. And second, we must wear our masks, whether we're vaccinated or not. As Dr. Howard says, masks are very safe, they're effective, and they're proven to reduce the transmission. We know that even vaccinated people can spread the virus. We also know that people can spread the virus when they're showing minimal to no symptoms whatsoever. So we need everyone to put their mask on, and if you haven't been vaccinated, get vaccinated. I commend the mayor in his executive order, and I am very supportive and encourage City Council to pass their legislation tonight so that we can all mask up and protect our neighbors and ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roberts. Do any of my colleagues have any questions for Dr. Roberts this evening? Seeing none, we do have a few speakers this evening. Our first speaker is Lisa Burris. Lisa, you have 3 minutes if you would come to the podium and state your name, any organization that you are associated with, and your address.
Didn't realize I only had 3 minutes, gonna have to talk fast. So my name is Lisa Burris, and I'm hoping to talk to you today about this recent mask mandate enacted by Mayor Ginther, and that you guys are considering. This last year, I realize, has been traumatic for all of us, and we're all just trying to do the best thing we can to protect our community. However, the continued use of mask mandates serve not only to make us feel better, not to actually make us safer. The science does not support the use of mask mandates. I hope that you'll listen to my explanation with an open mind. Okay. In addition, it is being shown that there are huge increases in suicide and mental health with our young people and children, and so masks are actually making us less healthy, in addition to less happy and stable. I'm hopeful that any agreement you have with the current mask mandate is because you're all very busy and working hard for our fine city, not because you're ignoring the science. To promote this, I've printed off for you a literature review I've done of more than 50 studies showing that masks simply are not effective in stopping the spread of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. I have a PhD in engineering, and I work as a scientist and a researcher, albeit in the name of transparency, not in medicine. My work is in the field of civil engineering and material science. Luckily, understanding most of the mask science does not depend on medical or biological theory, and so it doesn't preclude me from understanding it. Reading, understanding, and thinking critically about research and reviewing the work of other experimentalists for quality is what I do every day. Several months ago, frustrated with this constant back and forth about whether masks work or not, I decided to sit down and actually review the literature myself so I would have the answer. And I've prepared that for you today. What I found is that for the most part, studies showing benefit from mask wearing are either overly simplistic, using dummies that are perfectly fitted with masks, or tested much larger particles than the viral aerosols that we know spread the SARS-CoV-2 virus. They may have also relied on retrospective, so past observational data of situations, which included many confounding variables, and many confounding variables. And other studies are often modeled data, not actual experiments or results. And those types of models have been shown to do a very poor job of reflecting the SARS-CoV-2 situation. For example, I'm sure you all heard last summer how wearing masks would save 200,000 lives. That study, which is included in the literature review I've given to you, made an assumption that masks could reduce transmission by 70%, and then cited a study that showed 40% reduction. So they more than doubled the efficacy of the masks to make that prediction, making their conclusion just totally wrong. Overall, the studies suggest that cloth masks are at best completely ineffective at preventing the spread of SARS-CoV-2, with a reduction rate of maybe 10%, a value which is within experimental error. Even if we assume a much better efficiency, so 4 times greater, a 40% reduction, and a hospitalization rate of, can I finish? Would that be okay if I finish? I have like maybe 1 more minute. If we assume a 2% hospitalization rate, we would need 200,000 people to perfectly wear their masks to prevent 1 additional case per week, and 1 million people to perfectly wear their masks to prevent a single hospitalization. This is not my data, this is the finding of the Norwegian Institute of Public Health. I do, in fairness, want to point out that if you are a trained medical professional who has been fitted with an N95 mask, the efficiency is better, but it doesn't translate to our general community. So based on the science, I'm asking you to push back against Mayor Ginther's continued use of ineffective non-medical interventions. Although it may be, for the most part, just an inconvenience for us as adults, there's a growing body of literature that's showing harm to our children. And I know that the actions that this council take will be looked upon by our school boards, by our teachers, by our administrators for how they use masks with children in schools. And there's even less evidence to support children's wearing of masks being anything beneficial. So I ask you to please reject the idea of the mask mandate and stand with the science. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burris. Our next speaker this evening is Aaron Carter. Mr. Carter, we ask you to come forward to the podium. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and any organization that you're associated with.
President Hardin and members of the Columbus City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening in opposition to proposed ordinance 2388-2021. My name is Aaron Crater. I am the founder of Ohio Bar Hop, an organization advocating on behalf of the service industry professionals here in Ohio. I'm actually not here tonight to persuade you against the passage of this ordinance, as we all know that this council is going to approve this no matter what is said tonight. I am here, however, to ensure that you all understand the destruction that will happen to Columbus's small business community as a result of this ordinance. Over the last 18 months, our small business community has had to suffer through shutdowns, countless mandates, and curfews. We have lost many of our small businesses and the jobs that they provide permanently. A common theme with all of these mandates is that individuals have never been held responsible for the consequences of these mandates. The onus has always been put on the businesses to enforce these, essentially making us in the business community unpaid deputies charged with enforcing government power over the people. Even worse, businesses and their employees are threatened with punishment from the government if they refuse to act as a policing agency of the government. It is not the responsibility of businesses and employees to act in such a manner on behalf of the state. As with all of these mandates, many of them have exemptions. This makes government look very benevolent in dealing with the public. The problem has been, though, that government agencies enforcing these rules against the businesses have not shown any concern for the exemptions. If a customer is in a business without a mask, the business gets cited regardless of if they have an exemption. I have seen this time and time again over the last year and a half. This has caused the business community to respond by not honoring any exemptions out of fear of persecution from the government. And then the businesses become the evil villain, persecuting the people while the government still portrays itself as the benevolent hero. This ordinance will have the exact same effect on these struggling businesses as it did before. People will choose to take their business out of Columbus. We will lose more businesses permanently. Customers will get irate and angry at employees. We will see employees verbally and physically assaulted again. And all this is because the government forces us to act as their enforcement agents with the public. This is not only dangerous for employees, but also destructive to our economy. If this council feels so strongly that in the interest of public safety, an indoor mask mandate must be put into effect and enforced, it should be enforced by government agencies and the citations issued to the individuals who violate the mandates, not the businesses. We can no longer afford to hold businesses accountable for the actions. May I finish? Thank you. We can no longer afford to hold businesses accountable for the actions of individuals who happen to be in their establishments. I will repeat this one more time. We, as a business community, are being forced to act as unpaid deputies of the state under threat of fines and punishment. This is wrong, and this practice must end now. I respectfully ask the council tonight to take a voice roll call vote on this ordinance so that the public has it officially on the record which members vote in favor of this tonight. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crater. Many of the issues that you brought up tonight were addressed in this ordinance in that we are raising the civil penalties or the individual penalties from $25 to $100 for the second offense and $250 for the subsequent offenses. The whole intent was, in consultation with the Restaurant Association, the Lodging Association, and others, retail associations, to take away that burden from the businesses to be sole enforcers. And so there have been a number of changes to address these things, and so I want to assure you that these things have been thought about and addressed, hopefully appropriately, so that the burden doesn't fall back on the individual businesses.
If I may respond to you.
I really don't want to get into a conversation back and forth because we have a lot of business to get ahead of us, but I will assure you, thank you for your comments. We appreciate you coming down this evening.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the city attorney's office on this evening? I don't know. What's that? Oh, Brian Shen, are you available to speak to any of the changes as well?
I had the ordinance. Good evening, Council President, members of council, and Chair Remy. I have the ordinance in front of me, and it is my understanding that they have increased the fines. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you if you didn't hear us.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Council Member. Yeah, the fines have been increased, is my understanding, is the biggest change with this ordinance.
Thank you. I wasn't sure who was in the chair tonight, and of course you weren't intimately involved with the conversation, but Assistant City Attorney Laura Baker Morris was. So we will move forward. I appreciate you commenting on that. Our next speaker this evening is Charles Roble. Mr. Roble, you have 3 minutes, and please state your name and any business you may be associated with.
Last time I was here, I was denied my right to speak, to petition government for redress. I was threatened with arrest, if not worse. I was a registered guest. The theory for my censorship was trespassing, despite me being a registered guest. Y'all have refused to comment on my being denied my right to speak, my right to petition government for redress at the last meeting. And this was a totally foreseeable thing that body cams are needed at city council meetings. As Brown and Hardin, you both met with protesters, I believe, after the September 26th, 2016 protest at city council. So I find it very disheartening that y'all have all been silent about there not being any body cams of me being denied my right to speak and access to speak at the last meeting. So I don't know why y'all are silent on that, which is pretty despicable. So yeah, I don't know what the science of these dividers are. I don't know why you have the dividers now and you didn't have them all last year. So yeah, according to Google, September 12th, the vaccination rate in the country was 63.8%. In Franklin County today, it's reported it's 57.28%. So that's a marginal difference between the national average of 6.5%. So from the national average, 60,000 less mammals in the city are getting the mRNA medical intervention. And so y'all have done a pretty bad job convincing everybody to trust you and to trust these corporations. So it's very sad that nobody trusts you now, especially with all the universities and research institutes in the city. So yeah, also in my past comments that have been censored by technical difficulties with me requesting correction in post, Jamie Metzel and World Health Organization Director Tedros Adhanom have all questioned the lab leak theory, which y'all have been silent on. Y'all don't seem to care at all about getting to the what started all of this. Why are you guys wearing masks? Why did you guys have to meet? Why did we spend over a year's budget on COVID interventions when we could have abolished poverty for all that money? But y'all chose to not abolish poverty, instead to give it all to special interests. So yeah, Ordinance 2700 and 2701, 2020, y'all spent over $1 million, I believe, on public information, including mask equal kindness. And at 5 different meetings, Remy and Hardin, you both refused to wear masks, despite me repeatedly asking you to, and despite the fact that MIT says that coronavirus can go up to 27 feet. Y'all have refused to let me know how close you've gotten to me against my will. I still don't know what the distance is from me to you, and to Blevins as well. So yeah, just in conclusion, since y'all refuse to even wear masks as kindness or as law, as you guys have voted in the past, and we have a radical anti-mask mayor, Ginther, who organized an anti-mask rally, which I tried to ask Liz Brown to protect us from, but she refused to even comment on it, on June 7th, 2021 at Burris Elementary. So yeah, it's pretty despicable, all the anti-mask activism. So for you guys to pass laws you're not going to follow is just ludicrous. So if you're not going to follow it, don't pass it.
Mr. Roble.
And why aren't you wearing a mask right now?
Appreciate
What's the
your
science?
time, Mr. Roble.
What's the science, Mr. Remy?
Mr. Roble, thank you very much. Finally, our final speaker this evening is via WebEx. It's Miss Jennifer Williams. Jennifer, are you out there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thanks everybody for allowing me to speak with you tonight via WebEx. My name is Jennifer Williams and I'm the owner of Wylands Market in Clintonville. First, I want to thank Mayor Ginther for signing the mask executive order on Friday. And I want to thank City Council for their continued leadership on this issue. I'm speaking to you as a business owner with a team of 80 people. They want me to tell you they're mentally and physically exhausted from being on the front lines for 20 months. We're short-staffed, it's hard to get products and supplies, and costs continue to rise daily. There is no longer a light at the end of the tunnel, and the holidays are approaching fast. You will hear the same thing from anyone else on the front lines of retail service, healthcare, etc. We all need to do everything possible to get out of this situation that we are in right now. Masks are one of the tools in the toolbox. I've thought about it for a long time of why masks, which are really a simple item, have turned into such a line in the sand and hill to die on for many people. I don't understand it. I have going to take my mother's advice to worry about me, let everybody else worry about them. So, I didn't interrupt when all you guys were speaking. Should I continue?
Yes, please continue. We're sorry for the outburst.
While I am not a medical professional, I do have common sense. And common sense tells me that a mask controls the spread of COVID. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
All right. Out of our team of 80 people, 6 have tested positive for COVID in 20 months. That is a small number considering our exposure to hundreds of people every day, and the fact that employees have their own choice to do what they want to do on their days off. I know people don't like being told what to do. Government regulations and overreach at all levels are not the solution to all problems. In the case of masks, however, I believe it's time for the city to get involved again because not enough people are wearing them voluntarily and the numbers are climbing. The residents of Columbus love to support their local businesses. The best way everyone can do that now is to put on a mask and help the people at your favorite local businesses. We are not impervious to illness. We are not robots. We are people with lives and families that we want to get home to. Help the people at your favorite local business stay safe and healthy so that we can stay open. If you're pro-business, I would suggest that you should also be pro-mask. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. We appreciate the opportunity to hear your testimony this evening. We're quickly approaching 2 years of this. And it is because people have divided this country and made it so they're putting a piece of N95 mask on is all of a sudden a breach of civil liberties. So, without getting into a debate, I will ask if my colleagues have any questions this evening on this particular ordinance. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted. Is that all in the Health and Human Services Committee?
That's all I have right now. Would you like to move?
No, we're
top
going to
of
go back
the
into
agenda?
regular order. The next committee to come before council is the Finance Committee. Finance Committee is chaired by Council President Pro Tem. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Tonight in Finance, we have Ordinance 2166-2021 to authorize the city auditor to transfer and appropriate $170,000 within the General Permanent Improvement Fund to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget to authorize the city auditor to transfer I'm sorry. To authorize the expenditure of $177,765.90 from the General Permanent Improvement Fund and the General Fund to authorize the Finance and Management Director on behalf of the Division of Fire to issue a purchase order to G&G Fitness for commercial grade fitness equipment to waive the competitive bidding requirements of the city code and to declare an emergency. A committee was convened in 2017 to analyze current inventory and develop a long-term strategy to replace aging fitness equipment at our fire stations. That committee developed a 3-phase replacement plan to meet the safety, budgetary, and spatial needs of fire stations. This ordinance authorizes the funding necessary to complete the final phase of this plan for our fire stations. The Division of Fire is requesting a waiver of competitive bidding because G&G Fitness is the sole regional distributor for the standardized equipment. Emergency action is being considered so that the equipment can be provided without delay to support the health needs of Columbus firefighters. Councilmember Brown, would you like to add any comments on this legislation? I didn't know if you had comments on the fire legislation.
I would only say to you, President Pro Tem, the requirement to make sure that our firefighters stay physically fit is absolutely imperative. And this equipment, in the sense of the sooner we can purchase it, the better off we're going to be. And I appreciate you moving forward on the legislation, absolutely.
Thank you, Council Member. Are there any other questions? I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have Ordinance 2275-2021 to authorize the acceptance and appropriation of $12,774,607.20 or such final amounts as allocated by the U.S. Treasury as a result of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, to authorize transfers of cash and appropriation within the Emergency Rental Assistance Fund as needed and to declare an emergency. The Consolidated Appropriations Act authorized the U.S. Treasury to make payments to eligible local governments to assist households that are unable to pay rent and utilities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Under Phase 1 of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, Columbus received approximately $26.8 million, which Council accepted and appropriated earlier this year. The American Rescue Plan authorized a second round of emergency rental assistance funding, which included approximately $21.2 million for Columbus. And this ordinance accepts and appropriates $12.7 million of that total amount. The U.S. Treasury will release the remainder of these funds at a future date. Emergency action is being considered so that these dollars can be made available to support Columbus families as soon as possible. And additional transfers of these funds to city departments will be authorized by council as needed. Are there any additional comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
And I have one ordinance in Recreation and Parks.
Please.
Thank you, Council President. That is Ordinance 2040-2021 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into various contracts for management of the Urban Forestry Master Plan, to authorize and direct the City Auditor to establish auditor certificates up to the amount of $1,455,000 for various expenditures in conjunction with the management of the Urban Forestry Master Plan, To authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to modify an existing contract with Davie Resource Group to continue citywide street tree inventory. To authorize the expenditure of $1,455,000 from the Recreation and Parks voted bond fund, and to declare an emergency. A reminder of earlier this year, the Urban Forestry Master Plan, which this council passed a resolution in support of. And that plan establishes 3 goals: to reach citywide tree canopy cover of 40% by 2050, to stop net tree canopy losses by 2030, and to invest in equitable tree canopy across all neighborhoods. The benefits that trees provide is valued up to 5 times what it costs to maintain them. A healthy tree canopy reduces the impacts of climate change by cleaning the air, providing shade and wind block that reduces utility bills, and decreasing storm runoff. Trees promote better health, and they promote better mental health. But the presence of trees too often tracks other markers of privilege in a neighborhood, like income and health factors. The distribution of tree canopy is one of the enduring legacies of redlining. In recognition of all of this, planting new trees was also a recommendation of the Columbus Climate Action Plan, and supporting this work is critical long-term investment and a priority for our city. Emergency action is being considered so that the work can begin immediately. Are there any questions from colleagues? Councilmember Remy.
Thanks, Council President Pro Tem Brown. I want to thank you and of course, Recs and Parks Department for dedicating this money. Just completed the Urban Forestry Master Plan, and so this type of uplift is so important to getting that started and really focusing on the work ahead. We are woefully behind, and there is a lot of work to catch up, and so this is just one small step towards the affirmative, and so appreciate your hard work on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Seeing no further questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
That's all I have in my committees, Council President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is Technology Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in the Technology Committee, we have ordinance number 2023-2021 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management on behalf of the Department of Technology for various departments to establish a purchase order with CDW Government LLC utilizing a State of Ohio state term schedule to renew software support and maintenance for the NetMotion software, to authorize the expenditure of $83,471.40 from the Department of Technology and Information Services Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. The city uses NetMotion software to enable mobile workers, including police officers and public utility field crews, to utilize computer applications over cellular communication networks. Without NetMotion, these applications would not function and significantly diminish the effectiveness of city efficiency with both our police officers and other mobile workers. Emergency legislation is required to facilitate prompt contract execution and related for payment for these services. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee coming for Council's Public Service and Transportation Committee. The committee is chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in Public Service and Transportation, we have Ordinance 2113-2021 to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds between projects within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to authorize the city auditor to appropriate $1,542,657 within the Federal Transportation Grants Fund, to authorize the city attorney's office to contract for professional services relative to the acquisition of fee simple title and lesser interest in and to property needed for the Arterial Street Rehabilitation Cassidy Avenue widening project, to authorize the city attorney's office to negotiate with property owners to acquire the additional rights of way necessary to complete this project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,542,657 from the Federal Transportation Grants Fund and up to $600,000 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the city attorney's office real estate division to hire professional services and to negotiate with property owners to acquire the various property rights necessary to complete the Arterial Street Rehabilitation Cassidy Avenue widening project, The project will consist of improvements to the Cassidy Avenue corridor from the City of Bexley Corporation line to 7th Avenue. This is the first of multiple phases to reconstruct the Cassidy Avenue corridor with complete street improvements. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2176-2021 to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreement for front-loading and rear-loading refuse trucks for the Division of Refuse Collection with ESC Corporation, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,322,714 from the Refuse Bond Fund for these trucks and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the purchase of 2 compressed natural gas front-loading refuse trucks and 2 CNG rear-loading refuse trucks. The Department of Public Service, Division of Refuse Collection, uses front-loading refuse trucks and rear-loading refuse trucks in the citywide residential trash pickup. This purchase will replace 4 refuse trucks that have reached the end of their useful service life. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I would move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2187-2021 to amend the 2020 capital improvement budget, to authorize the transfer of funds and appropriation within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with G&G Concrete Construction, LLC for the Celebrate One sidewalk near South Deschler from 18th Street to Lockbourne Avenue, and Operation Sidewalk Celebrate One sidewalk near South Kossuth Carpenter to Linwood projects, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2,271,607.24 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund for the projects and to declare an emergency. Sidewalks will be built on the south side of Deschler Avenue between 18th Street and Lockbourne Avenue, and on the south side of Kossuth Street between Carpenter Street and Linwood Avenue. The anticipated completion date of construction is late May 2022. Celebrate One sidewalk projects is in the city's 8 opportunity neighborhoods, help improve pedestrian access to women, infants and children, which is a program, the infants and children program locations where possible. Sidewalk connections may also be constructed to create connections from CODA bus stops to WIC and other health and education resources. These projects play a role in improving the health and quality of life in our opportunity neighborhoods so they are safer and healthier for moms-to-be, babies, and families. Any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I would move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2280-2021 to authorize the city attorney to file complaints in order to immediately appropriate and accept the remaining fee and simple and lesser real estate necessary to timely complete the Arterial Street Rehabilitation, Hudson Street, I-71 to Cleveland Avenue Phase 1 project, to authorize an expenditure of $23,973 from existing ACD I001358-10 and to declare an emergency. The Department of Public Service is performing the Arterial Street Rehabilitation, Hudson Street, I-71 Cleveland Avenue Phase 1 project. The city must acquire certain fee simple title and lesser real estate located in the vicinity of Hudson Street between I-71 to Cleveland Avenue in order for Public Service to timely complete the project. The city attorney was authorized through previous legislation to acquire the real estate, and this ordinance allows the city to obtain the remaining parcels. The city's acquisition of the real estate will help improve portions of the public right-of-way of Hudson Street between I-71 to Cleveland Avenue, which will be open to the public upon completion. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And last, we have ordinance 2240-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into agreements with and to accept contributions from Pizzuti Land LLC for the construction of public infrastructure improvements in connection with the roadway Shook Road Phase 2 project, to authorize the city auditor to appropriate funding received from Pizzuti Land LLC for this project and to authorize refunds of any unneeded funding contributed by Pizzuti Land LLC for the project and to declare an emergency. At this time, I'd like to move to table this ordinance until the September 20th council meeting.
Clerk, please call the roll. By voice.
Ms. Brown? Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Mr. Remy? President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is tabled.
Thank you. That's all I have in my committees.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final committee to come before council is the Environment Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Not quite the final
I
one,
just noticed
but
that.
close enough. My final one, and then I'll pick it up for Tyson, who is not here this evening. First, I have ordinance number in the Environment Committee 2254-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Service to enter into grant agreements with various local school districts and related organizations in support of the school litter cleanup program, to authorize expenditure within the recovery fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the Director of the Department of Public Service to enter into grant agreements with various schools and social service agencies in support of the school litter cleanup program. Just as the COVID-19 pandemic has continued to impact the workforce, the need for economic assistance remains. The school litter cleanup program will offer athletic and extracurricular programs within and around Columbus to participate in litter cleanups in designated areas defined by Keep Columbus Beautiful. The groups will perform litter cleanup, provide Keep Columbus Beautiful with the locations cleaned, and report the number of participants in each cleanup effort. Each organization may earn up to $1,500 for each cleanup, up to a maximum of $24,000 per school. This program gives students an opportunity to improve their community while earning money for their athletic program or extracurricular activity. Director Gallagher, are you out there? Do you have any additional background or comments that you'd like to share on this ordinance?
Good evening, Council President Harden, Chair Remy, other members of council. I am out here, and I will say a few words. This program will have many benefits to our students, our schools, and our neighborhoods. These program grants will not only support the city's aggressive litter abatement efforts for cleaner, healthier neighborhoods, they will provide a meaningful fundraising opportunity to support our students' participation in school extracurricular activities that broaden their school experience and teach many life skills. The litter cleanups will enable students to reconnect with their school neighborhoods after being away from their buildings for much of last school year due to COVID-19. Their efforts to tackle the unacceptable litter program will improve their school neighborhood's appearance. The cleanups also provide a needed boost to fundraising that extracurricular activities depend on. The pandemic put a big dent last year in the ability of school and parent volunteer organizations to sponsor their usual fundraising needed to support these activities. Schools can participate in this program by contacting Keep Columbus Beautiful at 614-645-2421 or Keep Columbus Beautiful at columbus.gov to gather more information about the program. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Appreciate your thinking about this program.
Turn the mic back on. Thank you, Director Gallagher. It's a pleasure to help introduce and pass this ordinance this evening. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, President Harden?
Passed.
With your permission, move to Health and Human Services.
Please.
Thank you very much. Next, I have ordinance 1641-2021 to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept additional funding from the Ohio Department of Health for coronavirus response supplemental grant program in the amount of $1,570,775 to authorize the appropriation of $1,570,775 to the Health Department and the Health Department Grants Fund, and to declare an emergency. To authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept additional funding for the Ohio Department of Health for a coronavirus. I guess I don't need to read this. This is exactly what sorry about that. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, President Harden?
Passed.
Next, I have ordinance 2085-2021, Ohio Department of Health for the Women, Infants, and Children program in the amount of, hold on one second here, I want to look at something. To authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Health for the Women, Infants, and Children program in the amount of $6,383,504, to authorize the appropriation of $6,383,504 for the unappropriated balance of Health Department Grants Fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance is needed to accept and appropriate the allocated dollars to fund the Women, Infants, and Children's program for the period of October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. The primary objective of Women's, Infants, and Children program is to provide nutritionally desirable food and nutritional education to pregnant and lactating women, infants, and children at nutritional risk in Franklin County who meet categorical income and nutritional risk requirements for eligibility. This ordinance is submitted as an emergency, so a delay in service does not occur due to the grant start date of October 1st, 2021. Are there any questions from my colleagues this evening? Well, wait a second. Hold on one second.
I'm sorry?
All right, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Next, I have ordinance 2123, 2021, to authorize the Board of Health to enter into contracts with Giant Eagle, doing business as the Tamarkin Company, in the amount of $1,034,389.85 to provide vaccine incentives, to authorize and direct the city auditor to transfer $434,676 within the Columbus Public Health Department's grant fund for response initiatives, to authorize the expenditure of $599,782.95 from the Recovery Fund 2209 and $434,606.90 from Health Grant Fund 2251, and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the transfer of said dollars within the Columbus Public Health Grant Fund 2251 to the appropriate funding main accounts and object classes for the 2021 COVID-19 response initiatives. In addition, this legislation will authorize the prior transfer of $1,355,000 within the American Rescue Fund for these same COVID-19 response initiatives, as well as future initiatives. Let's see here. This ordinance will authorize the expenditure of $1,034,389.85 as a result of PO 280658, PO 283406, and PO 285541, each created and approved as a result of separate mayor's letters of emergency to proceed, dated July 12, 2021, July 27, 2021, and August 10, 2021. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Let's see here. Finally, I have ordinance number 2127, 2021, to authorize Board of Health to modify and increase an existing contract with Imoca Mobile Health for continued COVID-19 contact tracing and case investigation services, to authorize the expenditure of $2,320,000 from the Health Department Grants Fund in the American Rescue Plan Act Fund for said contract, to waive the competitive bidding requirements of City Code, and to declare an emergency. Let's see. Due to the immediate nature of need for case investigation services and continued contact tracing, CPH is requesting the waiver of the provisions of Columbus City Code, Chapter 329, from Director of the Division of Finance and Management. Emergency action is requested due to the nature of COVID-19 pandemic. I will throw it over to Ed Roberts for any additional comments on this particular, Edward Roberts, not Roberts. Edward Johnson, excuse me. I apologize, Edward. I'm going to throw it over to you just to talk a little bit more about this particular ordinance.
Thank you. Absolutely. I know it's hard to keep all the Eds and Edwards straight in the city. This contract with Imoca Mobile Health is to allow us to continue to do contact tracing as cases rise throughout the city of Columbus. Imoca is a service that we've continued to use. We use them for other infectious diseases as well, such as tuberculosis, and we've been very pleased with their services. This allows us to educate about proper mitigation strategies, quarantine guidelines, and what to do if symptoms are experienced from COVID-19. Additionally, AMOCA will notify CPH of any contacts as individuals become symptomatic during their quarantine. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. I know there's a lot going on tonight. So are there any additional questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing no further business to coming before council, welcome back, first of all. Welcome back. I move for adjournment. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Council is adjourned. We have, I think, a couple.
Thank you for having me back in your house one last time again, Mr. Lathan George Wilkins. First of all, I want to have Elizabeth Brown, aide, to come down and get this document. Oh, okay. All right. First of all, 1612 Arlington Avenue. This book is given to Elizabeth Brown to share with to all of you, City Council. On the first page, it says